Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag. The mining station was quiet tonight. Most workers had gone to sleep hours ago, but Jake liked working late. The machines were quieter then, and he could think better. He walked outside to throw away some broken parts. The space station spun slowly, creating fake gravity for everyone inside. Through the big windows, he could see stars everywhere. They looked cold and far away. Jake was about to go back inside when he heard a sound. It was soft, like someone trying not to make noise. He stopped and listened. There it was again, coming from behind the big trash containers. Jake grabbed a flashlight from his tool belt. He walked slowly toward the sound. His boots made soft clicks on the metal floor. As he got closer, he could hear breathing. Someone was hurt. Behind the last container, Jake found something he had never seen before. It was a person, but not human. The creature was tall and thin with blue-gray skin. Its clothes were torn and dirty. Dark liquid that looked like blood covered its face and arms. The alien tried to move away when Jake's light hit it, but it moved wrong, like it could not see where it was going. Its hands reached out, feeling for the wall. "Hey, it's okay," Jake said quietly. He put his hands up, to show he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you." The alien stopped moving. It turned its head toward Jake's voice. That's when Jake saw the creature's face clearly. Where its eyes should have been, there were only burned, empty spaces. The wounds looked old, but still painful. "You're blind," Jake said softly. The alien spoke in a voice that sounded like music mixed with whispers. "Yes, human. I cannot see. I have not seen for many cycles of your sun." Jake was surprised the creature could speak his language. "You know English?" "I know many languages. It helps when you must beg for food." The alien tried to sit up straighter. "I am called Veltar. I was once of the Zenithi people. Now I am nothing." Jake looked at Veltar's wounds. Some were fresh, but the eye injuries were different. They looked like they had been burned with something very hot. "What happened to you?" Veltar was quiet for a long time. "My people believe that strength is everything. They think that perfect bodies make perfect souls. I questioned this belief. I said that wisdom and kindness matter more than strength." "And they hurt you for that?" "The Emperor himself ordered my punishment. They used plasma fire on my eyes. Then they threw me out of our empire. They said I was weak and worthless. A blind Zenithi brings shame to all Zenithi." Jake felt angry. He had seen bullies before, but this was worse. "That's wrong. Nobody should be hurt for having different ideas." "Your people think differently than mine," Veltar said. "But I have traveled to many worlds since my exile. Most species fear the blind. They see us as broken things that should be hidden away." Jake knelt down next to Veltar. The alien was very thin. He looked like he had not eaten good food in a long time. "When did you last have a real meal?" "I do not remember." "Can you walk?" "Yes, but slowly. I must feel my way." Jake stood up and held out his hand. "Come with me. I have food in my workshop." Veltar did not take Jake's hand right away. "Why would you help me? You do not know me. I could be dangerous." "You don't look dangerous. You look hungry and hurt." Jake kept his hand out. "Besides, everyone deserves help when they need it." Slowly, Veltar reached out and found Jake's hand. His skin felt different than human skin, cooler and smoother. Jake helped him stand up. They walked slowly back to the workshop. Jake had to guide Veltar around pipes and boxes. The alien moved carefully, always listening for sounds that might tell him where things were. "This is my place," Jake said as they reached his workshop door. The room was messy, full of broken machines and spare parts. Tools covered every surface. Half-finished projects sat in corners, waiting for Jake to have time to work on them. Jake helped Veltar sit in an old chair. He found some food packets and a bottle of water. "It's not fancy, but it's clean." Veltar ate slowly, like someone who had learned not to waste any food. "You are kind, Jake Morrison. But you should know something about my people. The Zenithi Empire is vast and powerful. If they find me here, they will destroy this place and everyone in it." "Are they looking for you?" "The Emperor said I must die alone and forgotten, but sometimes his ships patrol the outer systems. If they detect Zenithi life signs..." Jake thought about this. He knew he should probably report Veltar to the station security. It would be the safe thing to do. But looking at the alien, all he could see was someone who needed help. "We'll deal with that if it happens," Jake said. "Right now, you need rest and medical care." Veltar turned his head toward Jake. Even without eyes, his face showed surprise. "You would risk your safety for someone you just met? My grandmother always said that how we treat people in trouble shows who we really are." Jake started clearing some space on an old cot. "Besides, I've been in trouble before. I know what it's like when nobody wants to help." Jake had been sent to this mining station as punishment. He had spoken up when his bosses were stealing money meant for worker safety. They could not fire him because he was too good at his job, so they sent him to the most boring place they could find. "Rest here tonight," Jake said. "Tomorrow we can figure out what to do about your injuries." "There is nothing you can do," Veltar said sadly. "My optical organs were completely destroyed. No surgery can fix plasma burns like these." Jake looked at the alien's ruined face. Most people would give up, but Jake had always been good at fixing things that other people said could not be fixed. His mind was already working, thinking about sensors and computers and ways to make things work differently. "Maybe," he said, quietly. "But I'd like to try." Veltar lay down on the cot. "Why, Jake Morrison, why do you care about a broken alien?" Jake turned off most of the lights, leaving just one small lamp burning. "Because broken doesn't mean worthless. Sometimes broken things just need someone who believes they can work again." As Veltar fell asleep, Jake sat at his workbench. He pulled out technical manuals and started reading about optical systems and neural interfaces. It was going to be a long night, but Jake Morrison had never backed down from a challenge. Outside the workshop, the mining station continued its slow spin through space. None of the sleeping workers knew that their small corner of the galaxy was about to become the center of something much bigger than anyone could imagine. Jake woke up with his head on his workbench. Technical manuals were scattered around him, and his neck hurt from sleeping in the chair. Sunlight was coming through the workshop windows. Well, not real sunlight. The station used bright lights to copy day and night. He looked over at the cot where Veltar was sleeping. The alien was very still, but Jake could see his chest moving up and down. He was alive, which was good. Jake made coffee and started reading again. He had spent all night learning about how eyes worked. Human eyes were complicated, but Zenithi eyes seemed much more complex. According to the medical files he found, they could see many different types of light that humans could not see. Veltar woke up slowly. He turned his head toward the sound of Jake moving around. "You stayed here all night?" "I had reading to do," Jake brought him some food and water. "I've been learning about your people's biology. You waste your time. Many great healers have. Examined plasma burns like mine. They all say the same thing. The damage cannot be fixed." Jake sat down across from Veltar. "What if we don't try to fix your eyes? What if we give you new ones?" "Artificial eyes? They have been tried. Zenithal optical systems are too complex. The brain connections are different than other species." "Not artificial eyes," Jake said. "Something better." He pulled out a piece of paper where he had been drawing plans. "What if we build you a suit that can see for you? It would have sensors all over it. The sensors would send information directly to your brain." Veltar was quiet for a long time. "Show me these plans." Jake realized his mistake. "Sorry, I forgot you can't see them." He started explaining his ideas. "I want to build an exosuit. It would cover your whole body. The suit would have different types of sensors. Some would see heat, some would see movement, some would see through walls." "This sounds like fantasy." "Maybe. But we have good sensor technology here. The mining equipment uses advanced systems to find metal deposits deep underground. I think I can modify them." Veltar stood up and walked carefully around the workshop. His hands touched the walls and machines, learning the shape of the room. "Even if you could build such a device, how would it connect to my mind?" "Neural interface technology. We use it to control the big mining machines. A person wears a headset and thinks commands to the computer. The computer does what they think." "And you believe this would work with Zenithal brain patterns?" Jake was honest. "I don't know, but I'd like to try." Just then, someone knocked on the workshop door. Jake opened it to find Lisa Park, the station administrator. She was a serious woman who always wore clean uniforms and kept her hair in a tight bun. "Morrison, I need to talk to you." She looked past him and saw Veltar. "And I need to talk to your friend." Jake let her in. Lisa studied Veltar carefully. "Security cameras showed you bringing someone here last night. We ran identification scans. He's not in any of our databases. His name is Veltar. He's hurt and needs help. I can see that." Lisa's voice was not unkind, but it was worried. "The problem is that we don't know anything about his species. We don't know if he's dangerous. We don't know if his people will come looking for him." Veltar spoke up. "Administrator Park, I mean no harm to your station. I am an exile. My people have cast me out. They do not care what happens to me." "That's what you say. But what if you're wrong? What if they do come looking?" "Then they will find a broken, worthless creature not worth their attention." Lisa looked at Veltar's ruined face. Jake could see her expression change from suspicion to sympathy. "What happened to you?" "I spoke against the Emperor's policies. This was my punishment." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Political exile?" "Yes." "Then you might qualify for refugee status. But I'll need to contact Sector Command for approval. That could take weeks." Jake stepped forward. "Lisa, he needs medical attention now, and I think I can help him." "How?" Jake explained his idea about the exosuit. Lisa listened without interrupting. When he finished, she shook her head. "Jake, that's impossible. The technology you're talking about doesn't exist. The parts exist. I just need to put them together differently. Even if you could build it, the cost would be enormous. The station doesn't have that kind of budget. I'm not asking for new parts, just permission to use salvaged equipment." Lisa looked around the workshop. It was full of broken machines and spare parts that the mining company had written off as worthless. You want to build an advanced medical device from junk? I've fixed a lot of things with junk. Ben Carter chose that moment to walk into the workshop. Ben was Jake's best friend on the station, a big man with gentle hands who could fix anything mechanical. He stopped when he saw Veltar. Jake? Want to tell me why there's an alien in your workshop? Jake explained everything again. Ben listened and nodded. He examined Veltar's injuries with the careful attention of someone who understood how complex systems worked. Plasma burns, Ben said finally. That's military-grade punishment. Someone really wanted to make sure the damage was permanent. Can Jake's idea work? Lisa asked. Ben was quiet for a long time. Maybe. The theory is sound. We do have neural interface technology. The mining suits use simplified versions. But what Jake is talking about would be much more complex. How complex? We'd need to map Zenithii brain patterns. We'd need to build custom sensors. We'd need to write completely new software. And we'd have to do it all without any official support or funding. Lisa looked at Jake. This sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Lisa, look at him, Jake pointed to Veltar. He's been wandering the galaxy, begging for food, sleeping in garbage areas. He has nothing. If we don't try to help, what kind of people does that make us? The kind who don't get themselves killed trying to fix problems that aren't ours. Veltar spoke quietly. Administrator Park, Jake Morrison, Ben Carter, I understand your concerns. I will leave your station if my presence causes trouble. And go where? Jake asked. Back to digging through trash and hoping someone will give. You scraps? It is what I deserve. No, Jake said firmly. It's not. Nobody deserves to live like that. Ben looked at his friend. Jake, this project could take months, and there's no guarantee it will work. I know. The station management will probably try to stop us. Probably. And if word gets out that we're harboring a political refugee, we could all get in trouble. Yep. Ben grinned. When do we start? Lisa threw up her hands. You're all crazy. Maybe, Jake said. But we're crazy people who fix things. Lisa studied the three men. Jake could see her thinking through all the problems this could cause. Finally, she sighed. I'll give you 1 month. After that, if this project isn't showing real progress, we turn our friend over to Sector Command. And if his people show up, looking for him, we tell them he was here and we helped him. I won't lie to protect any of us. Fair enough, Jake said. And Jake, this comes out of your free time. You still have regular work duties. Understood. After Lisa left, Jake and Ben looked at each other. They had just committed to an impossible project with no money, no official support, and a 1-month deadline. So, Ben said, where do we start? Jake looked at Veltar, who was sitting very still on the cot. The alien's face showed no expression, but Jake thought he looked hopeful for the first time. We start by learning everything we can about how Zenithii brains work, Jake said. Then we figure out how to build something that's never been built before. Simple, Ben said with a laugh. Simple, Jake agreed. But as he looked at the pile of broken machines and spare parts around his workshop, Jake Morrison felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt like he was about to do something important. 3 weeks had passed since Jake started the project. His workshop looked like a tornado had hit it. Pieces of mining equipment, computer parts, and sensor arrays covered every surface. Jake had barely slept. His eyes were red from staring at technical diagrams, and his hands were cut from working with sharp metal edges. Ben came in every evening after his regular shift to help. Together they had built something that looked like a silver suit of armor. It was covered in small sensors and had cables running everywhere. A helmet sat on the workbench, filled with more electronics than Jake had ever crammed into such a small space. Veltar had been patient during the long weeks of construction. He helped where he could, explaining how Zenithi's senses worked and what information his brain expected to receive. Jake learned that Zenithi could see heat patterns, electrical fields, and even slight changes in gravity. Their brains processed much more information than human brains. This is why no one has successfully built artificial eyes for my people, Veltar explained. You cannot simply replace two organs. You must replace an entire sensory system. Jake wiped sweat from his forehead. That's exactly what we're doing. The suit had 12 different types of sensors. Heat sensors would show warm objects. Motion detectors would track anything moving. Electromagnetic sensors would see electrical devices and living creatures' nerve signals. Jake had even installed experimental quantum field detectors that mining. Crews used to find rare metals. The software is the hard part, Ben said. He was working on the computer programs that would translate sensor data into signals Veltar's brain could understand. I've never written code for an alien nervous system before. They had spent days mapping Veltar's brain patterns using medical scanners. The results were strange and beautiful. Zenithi brains had sections that humans did not have, areas designed to process the complex visual information their natural eyes provided. Lisa Park visited the workshop often. She brought food and asked about progress, but Jake could see she was worried. You have 1 week left, she reminded them. If this doesn't work, I have to follow regulations. It will work, Jake said. But privately, he was not sure. The suit looked impressive, but they had not tested it yet. There were too many things that could go wrong. On a Tuesday morning, Jake decided they were ready for the first test. The suit hung on a metal frame, all its systems connected and powered up. Status lights blinked green across the control panel. Are you ready? Jake asked Veltar. The alien nodded. I have been ready for many years. Putting on the suit took almost an hour. Each piece had to be fitted carefully and connected to the next piece. The helmet was the most complex part. It had neural interface contacts that touched specific points on Veltar's head. Remember, Jake said as he made the final connections, if anything feels wrong, tell us immediately. We can shut everything down in seconds. I understand. Jake looked at Ben. Power on? Power on. Jake pressed the activation button. The suit hummed to life. Lights flickered across the control panel as systems started up. Everything looked normal on the technical side. But Veltar screamed. Jake hit the emergency shutdown button. The suit powered down immediately. Veltar collapsed to his knees, his hands pressed against the helmet. What happened? Ben asked. Are you hurt? Veltar was breathing hard. Too much information all at once. It was like standing in a river of fire. Jake felt his heart sink. The neural connections are wrong? No, I think they are correct. But the volume of data... Veltar struggled to explain. Imagine if someone took all the sounds in the world and played them in your ears at the same time. Jake looked at Ben. We need to reduce the data flow. Filter it somehow. They spent the next 2 days reprogramming the suit's software. Instead of sending all sensor information at once, they designed it to send small amounts of data and gradually increase the flow as Veltar's brain learned to process it. The second test was better. Veltar did not scream, but he still removed the helmet after only a few minutes. It is still overwhelming, he said. but I could sense shapes, warm areas, movement. That's progress, Ben said. Jake was not satisfied. We need to make it work better. Let me think about this differently. He remembered something from his technical training. Human brains learn to see over many months as babies. They started with simple light and dark, then gradually learned to process complex visual information. What if we teach your brain slowly? Jake asked Veltar. Start with just one type of sensor. Add more as you get used to each one. This approach worked much better. They started with just the heat sensors. Veltar could wear the helmet for an hour and see warm objects as bright spots. Then they added motion detection. After that, electromagnetic sensing. Each new sensor type required days of practice. Veltar had to learn what each signal meant. A warm spot might be a person or a hot machine. Moving electromagnetic patterns could be someone walking or an elevator. Running Amy Hughes, the station's security chief, visited during one of these practice sessions. She was a former military officer who did not trust easily, but when she saw Veltar slowly turning his head to track her movement across the room while wearing the helmet, her expression changed. "He can see me?" she asked. "Not the way you see," Jake explained. "He's detecting your body heat and electrical activity, but yes, he knows exactly where you are and how you're moving." Amy walked around the room. Veltar's head followed her perfectly. "This is incredible." "Wait until you see the full system," Ben said. 2 weeks later, they were ready for the complete test. Veltar put on the entire suit for the first time. Jake activated all systems slowly, bringing each sensor array online one by one. Veltar stood very still as the suit powered up. Jake watched the readouts carefully. Everything looked normal. Brain activity was high, but not dangerous. Power consumption was within acceptable limits. "How do you feel?" Jake asked. Veltar did not answer immediately. He turned his head from side to side. Then he took a step forward, then another. "I can see," he said quietly. "What do you see?" "Everything." Veltar's voice was filled with wonder. "I can see the heat from your bodies. I can see the electrical patterns in the machines. I can see the metal structure of the walls. I can see things moving in other rooms." He walked across the workshop without hesitation. He reached out and picked up a tool from the workbench without feeling around for it. "The quantum sensors show me the composition of objects. This tool is steel with traces of carbon. The workbench is aluminum with copper wiring inside." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "It works." "It more than works," Veltar said. He turned to face Jake directly. "I can see better than I ever could with natural eyes. I can see through walls. I can see the electromagnetic patterns that show how people feel. I can see things that no Zenithii has ever seen." Ben was grinning. "We did it. We actually did it, but—" Veltar suddenly went very still. "Jake, there is something else I can see now." "What?" "Ships. Very large ships. They are at the edge of the star system, but the quantum sensors can detect their energy signatures." Jake felt cold. "What kind of ships?" "Zenithii ships. Imperial fleet configuration." Veltar's voice was grim. "They have found me." Amy Hughes, who had been watching the demonstration, immediately activated her communicator. "Station Command. This is Hughes. We have incoming vessels at the system perimeter. Unknown configuration and intent." Lisa Park's voice came through the speaker. "Confirmed. Long-range sensors detect multiple large vessels. They're not responding to communication attempts." Jake looked at the suit readouts. Everything still showed Normal function. Veltar was standing calmly, but Jake could see tension in his posture. "How long before they reach the station?" Jake asked. Veltar concentrated, using the suit's enhanced sensors to analyze the distant ships. "Based on their energy patterns and trajectory, approximately 2 of your days. Maybe they're just passing through," Ben said hopefully. Veltar shook his head. "Imperial fleets do not travel to empty systems by accident. They are here for me." Amy was already making plans. "We need to evacuate non-essential personnel. Alert. Sector Command. Prepare the station's defenses." "What defenses?" Jake asked. "This is a mining station, not a military base. We have mining lasers. Some of the cargo ships have defensive systems." Veltar turned to face them all. In the silver suit with its glowing sensors, he looked like a warrior from an ancient legend. "You should surrender me to them. Tell them you found me and are returning me as required by Imperial law. They might spare the station." "No," Jake said immediately. "Jake Morrison, you do not understand. An Imperial fleet can destroy this entire station in minutes. Thousands of people will die because you chose to help one broken alien." "You're not broken anymore," Jake said. "And we don't abandon friends." Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "Friends." "Friends," Jake confirmed. Ben nodded. "Jake's right. We don't give up on people." Amy looked at her communicator. "Station Command, this is Hughes. Request immediate conference with all department heads. We have a situation that requires full station response." As the security chief left to organize the station's defense, Jake looked at his impossible creation. They had built something amazing, something that gave hope to those who had lost everything. Now, they had to find a way to protect it. 2 days, he said to Ben and Veltar. 2 days. The station's main meeting room had never been so crowded. Every department head was there, along with the senior staff and ship captains. Lisa Park stood at the front of the room, looking tired and worried. Big screens showed the approaching fleet. Even from far away, the ships looked dangerous. "Latest sensor data shows 12 Zenithii vessels," Lisa announced. "The largest one is over 2 kilometers long. They will reach our position in 36 hours. Captain Ray Martinez, who commanded the station's small security force, shook his head. "We have 4 patrol ships and some mining vessels with basic weapons. Against a fleet like that, we might as well throw rocks." "What do they want?" asked Dr. Karen Bailey, the station's chief medical officer. Lisa looked at Jake, who was sitting with Veltar and Ben. The alien was still wearing his silver suit, though he had removed the helmet. "They want our guest." Veltar stood up. "I am the exile Veltar of the Zenithii. These ships are here because the Emperor has decided I should not be allowed to live peacefully in exile." "Why?" Captain Martinez asked. "What did you do?" I suggested. "That my people should treat other species with respect instead of conquering them. I said that being different did not make someone worthless." The room was quiet. Finally, Carl Stone, the mining operations director, spoke up. "Look, no offense, but maybe we should just give them what they want. 1 alien versus 1,000 station. Personnel? The choice is obvious." "The choice is not that simple," Amy Hughes said. She activated a wall screen that showed legal documents. "I contacted Sector Command. Veltar has been granted preliminary refugee status. Under interstellar law, we cannot surrender a political refugee to hostile forces." "So we're legally required to protect him?" Dr. Bailey asked. "Yes, but more than that, we have a moral obligation. If we surrender refugees to their enemies, what kind of people are we?" Carl Stone was not convinced. Dead people, if we try to fight an Imperial fleet. Jake stood up. Maybe we don't have to fight them directly. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Veltar, what can your suit tell us about those ships? Veltar put his helmet back on and concentrated. The suit's quantum sensors were powerful enough to analyze energy signatures across the star system. After several minutes, he began to speak. The lead ship is the Divine Ascendancy, the Emperor's personal vessel. It is commanded by Admiral Kexelon, one of the Emperor's most trusted officers. What about weaknesses? Amy asked. Any ships showing damage or system failures? Veltar was quiet for a long time, using the suit's sensors to examine each vessel carefully. This is interesting. Several ships show signs of structural stress. Their energy patterns indicate system failures that have been patched but not properly repaired. Why wouldn't they fix their ships properly? Ben asked. Zenith culture does not allow acknowledgement of weakness, Veltar explained. Admitting that a ship has serious problems would be seen as shameful, so they hide the problems instead of fixing them correctly. Jake felt an idea forming. What kind of problems? 3 ships have reactor instabilities. 2 have weapon systems that are partially offline. The Divine Ascendancy itself has a critical flaw in its main power core. Captain Martinez leaned forward. What kind of flaw? The quantum containment field is degrading. It has been repaired many times, but the underlying problem remains. If the field fails completely, the reactor will overload. Amy Hughes was taking notes. Could we trigger that failure? Possibly, but it would require someone to get very close to the ship and access their main computer system. That's impossible, Carl Stone said. Even if we could get close, their security systems would detect any intrusion. Veltar turned his helmeted head toward Stone. Not if the intruder was someone they did not expect to be a threat. You want to surrender yourself? Lisa asked. No. I want to appear to surrender myself. Your people would contact the fleet and offer to return me. They would bring me aboard the Divine Ascendancy. While they are focused on me, I could access their systems. Jake shook his head. That's suicide. Once you're on their ship, they'll kill you. Perhaps. But with this suit, I can see things they cannot. I can move through their ship in ways they do not expect, and I know their security systems. Dr. Bailey spoke up. Even if you could access their computers, how would you get off the ship before the reactor exploded? I would not get off. The room erupted in arguments. Several people spoke at once, but Jake's voice cut through the noise. No, we're not sending you to die. Jake Morrison, this is the logical solution. I am one life. The station has over 1,000 people. We'll find another way. Ben was studying the sensor data. Actually, maybe we don't need Veltar to go alone. What do you mean? Amy asked. The suit can transmit data, right? It sends information to Veltar's brain through wireless neural links. What if we modify it to send data to other systems too? Jake understood immediately. Remote access. Veltar goes to their ship, but we maintain contact through the suit's communication system. We could help him navigate their computer systems from here. And if something goes wrong, Veltar added, you could trigger the reactor failure remotely. Captain Martinez was studying fleet movements on the tactical display. There's another problem. Even if we disable the flagship, there are 11 other ships. They could still destroy the station. Not if we do this right, Amy said. She was looking at intelligence reports about Zenithi military structure. Imperial fleets are highly centralized. All major decisions come from the flagship. If the divine ascendancy is disabled, the other ships will be confused and disorganized. Long. Enough for us to escape? Lisa asked. Maybe. Or long enough for Sector Command to send help? Jake looked around the room. Everyone was scared, but he could see determination in their faces. These were people who had chosen to work on a remote mining station. They were used to solving problems with limited resources. There's something else we need to consider, Doctor, Bailey said. If we do this, we're declaring war on the Zenithi Empire. There will be consequences. There will be consequences if we don't do it too, Amy replied. Empires that think they can push people around only get stronger if nobody stands up to them. Carl Stone was looking at the fleet display. I still think this is insane, but I've been outvoted before. He turned to Veltar. If you're really going to do this, you'll need a way to get to their ship without being detected. I have an idea about that, Captain Martinez said. We have a small maintenance pod that's scheduled. For routine cargo transfer, we could hide Veltar inside a supply container. Lisa was making notes on a data pad. We need to send a message to the fleet first. Tell them we found Veltar and want to return him according to Imperial law. They will be suspicious, Veltar warned. Admiral Kexalon is not easily fooled. Then, we need to make our surrender look genuine, Jake said. We'll act frightened and eager to cooperate. We'll send sensor logs showing that we just discovered you. We'll beg them not to destroy the station. Amy was working on communication protocols. I can make it look convincing. But Veltar, once you're on that ship, you'll be on your own until we can establish communication through the suit. I understand. Jake looked at his friend. In the silver suit with its array of sensors, Veltar looked like a warrior from the future. But Jake knew he was still the same broken, exiled alien who had been digging through trash just a few weeks ago. Are you sure about this? Jake asked quietly. I am sure that I do not want your people to suffer because of me. And I am sure that sometimes broken things can do things that perfect things cannot. What do you mean? Veltar gestured to his suit. The Emperor's ships are perfect examples of Zenithi engineering. They are powerful and beautiful, but they are also rigid and predictable. This suit you built is made from broken parts and salvaged equipment. It should not work at all. But it sees things that perfect Zenithi sensors cannot see. Jake understood. Sometimes being different is better than being perfect. Exactly. The meeting continued for several more hours as they planned every detail of the operation. It was dangerous and probably impossible, but it was the only chance they had. As the fleet grew larger on the sensor displays, Jake worked on final modifications to Veltar's suit. He added emergency communication systems and programmed new software routines that would help Veltar navigate Zenithi computer systems. Jake, Veltar said, as Jake made the last adjustments. If this fails, I want you to know that these have been the best weeks of my life. You gave me hope when I had none. It's not going to fail, Jake said firmly. We built something impossible together. Now we're going to use it to do something impossible. And if it does fail? Jake looked at his friend. Then we'll have tried our best to do the right thing. Sometimes that's all you can do. Outside the station, the Zenithi fleet continued its approach. In 18 hours, they would arrive and demand the surrender of the exile Veltar. They expected to find a helpless mining station and a broken alien. Instead, they were going to find something they had never encountered before. Humans who refused to give up, and a friend who had learned to see the universe in ways no one had ever seen it before. The impossible was about to become possible. The Zenithii fleet arrived exactly when Veltar had predicted. 12 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. The divine ascendancy dominated the center, its golden hull gleaming with threatening beauty. The smaller ships arranged themselves in attack positions around the mining station. Jake watched from the station's command center as Lisa Park opened communication channels. Her voice shook slightly as she spoke, which was exactly what they wanted. Zenithii Fleet, this is Administrator Park of Mining Station Epsilon 7. We have the exile you seek. We wish to return him to you as required by law. Please do not harm our station. The response came quickly. A stern Zenithii face appeared on the main screen. Admiral Kexalon had silver skin marked with ritual scars and eyes like cold fire. His voice was sharp and commanding. Human Administrator, you will transfer the exile immediately. Any delay will be considered an act of defiance against the Emperor. Of course, Admiral. We're preparing a transport pod now. The exile he's injured and cannot travel in our normal ships. Injured how? Lisa looked nervous, which was not hard to fake. He's been living in the station's waste areas. He's very weak and barely conscious. We found him collapsed and had to give him medical attention. Admiral Kexalon's expression showed disgust. Pathetic. Transfer him quickly. The Emperor wishes this embarrassment to end. The communication channel closed. Jake turned to Veltar, who was making final checks on his suit systems. The alien looked calm, but Jake could see tension in his movements. Remember, once you're on their ship, stay quiet until we establish communication, Jake said. The suit's transmitter needs 15 minutes to sync with our systems. I understand. Ben was monitoring the suit's power levels. All systems are green. You'll have about 6 hours of full operation before you need to recharge. That should be enough time, Veltar said. Amy Hughes approached with a security uniform that had been modified to fit over the suit. This will help disguise the sensors. From a distance, you'll look like a station security officer escorting a prisoner. Jake helped Veltar put on the disguise. The silver suit was mostly hidden under the dark uniform, though careful observers might notice the unusual bulges where sensors were located. You don't have to do this, Jake said quietly. Yes, I do. This is what friends do for each other. Jake felt his throat tighten. A month ago, this alien had been a stranger digging through garbage. Now he was risking his life to save people he barely knew. The transport pod was a small maintenance vessel normally used to move cargo between ships. Captain Martinez piloted it, while Veltar lay in a modified supply container. To Zenithii sensors, it would look like they were transporting an unconscious prisoner. Jake monitored their progress from the command center. The pod approached the divine ascendancy slowly, following the exact flight path the Zenithii had specified. The massive ship was even more impressive up close. Its hull was covered in weapons and sensor arrays that could destroy entire planets. Pod. Approaching Docking Bay 7, Captain Martinez reported. They're guiding us in with tractor beams. Jake activated the suit's communication system. Veltar, can you hear me? There was no response. The suit's transmitter was not powerful enough to reach through the Zenithii ship's hull. They would have to wait until Veltar was inside and could activate the system manually. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, Jake's equipment detected a weak signal from inside the divine ascendancy. Jake, can you hear me? Veltar, you made it. What's your status? I am in a detention cell in the ship's lower levels. They believe I am unconscious. The guards left me alone. Can you access their computer systems from there? Not from the cell. I need to reach the main computer core. It is 17 levels above my current position. Ben was studying the ships, blueprints that Veltar had provided earlier. That's a long way to go without being detected. I can see the ship's internal structure with the suit's sensors, Veltar replied. There are maintenance passages that the crew does not normally use, and I can see the electrical patterns of people moving through the ship. I can avoid them. Be careful, Jake said. If they catch you, I know. For the next hour, Jake tracked Veltar's progress through the massive ship. The alien moved like a ghost, using his enhanced vision to avoid patrols and find hidden passages. Sometimes he had to wait in ventilation shafts while guards passed below. Sometimes he crawled through spaces too small for normal Zenith warriors. I'm approaching the computer core, Veltar finally reported. But there are guards at the entrance. How many? 4 warriors in full armor. They are not moving from their positions, Jake thought quickly. Can you create a distraction? Perhaps. The suit's sensors show that the environmental controls for this section are poorly maintained. If I overload the atmospheric processors, it will trigger alarms and draw the guards away. Do it. Jake listened as Veltar accessed an environmental control panel. Within minutes, alarm sounds echoed through their communication link. Emergency in Sector 12, they heard over the ship's communication system. Atmospheric leak detected. Security teams respond immediately. It worked, Veltar said. The guards are leaving. I'm entering the computer core now. The main computer core of the Divine Ascendancy was a massive room filled with processing units and data storage systems. Veltar found an access terminal and began connecting his suit's interface systems. I am in their network, he reported, searching for reactor control systems. What do you see? Ben asked. Their computer security is very sophisticated, but it is designed to stop normal intrusion attempts. The suit's quantum sensors can see the data patterns directly. I am bypassing their security by reading the information instead of accessing it normally. Jake smiled despite the tension. Once again, being different was better than being perfect. Found it? Veltar said. The main reactor controls are... This is worse than I thought. What do you mean? The containment field is not just degrading, it is actively failing. They have been using emergency patches to hold it together. The entire power core could explode at any moment. Can you control the failure? Yes, but Jake, there is something else. This ship is not just a warship. The quantum sensors show massive life support systems. There are thousands of people on board. Not just warriors, families, children. Jake felt his blood turn cold. They brought civilians to a military operation. It appears this ship serves as both a warship and a mobile city. If the reactor explodes, all these innocent people will die. The command center was quiet as everyone absorbed this information. They had planned to disable the flagship, but not to commit mass murder. Veltar, can you evacuate the ship somehow? Amy asked. Not without alerting the entire fleet. And there are not enough escape pods for everyone. Jake looked at the tactical display. The other Zenith ships were still in attack formation around the station. If they didn't disable the flagship soon, the fleet would realize something was wrong. Wait, Dr. Bailey said. What if we don't destroy the ship? What if we just disable it? How? Ben asked. The reactor containment field is failing anyway. Instead of making it explode, could we make it shut down safely? Veltar was quiet for a moment. Possibly. If I could reroute power to the emergency containment systems and gradually reduce the reactor output. But it would take time, and the ship's crew would eventually notice what I am doing. How much time? Lisa asked. At least 2 hours for a safe shutdown. Captain Martinez was monitoring fleet movements. We don't have 2 hours. The other ships are already getting suspicious about our communications silence. Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Then we tell them the truth. What? Amy stared at him. We contact Admiral Kexalon. We tell him his ship is about to explode and that we're trying to save his people. Jake, that's insane. He'll never believe us. Maybe not. But what if he does? What if we can convince him that we're trying to help instead of hurt? Ben looked at his friend, like he had lost his mind. You want to trust the people who were planning to destroy the station? I want to show them that we're different than they think we are. Jake activated the communication system before anyone could stop him. Admiral Kexalon's face appeared on the screen, looking angry and suspicious. Human, why have you not reported the successful transfer of the exile? Admiral, I need to tell you something important. Your ship is in danger. Kexalon's expression darkened. Explain. Your main reactor containment field is failing. Our friend Veltar is inside your computer systems right now. He could trigger an explosion that would destroy your ship, but he won't do it. Why? Because there are innocent people on board, children, families. We don't want them to die. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. You expect me to believe that you are trying to help us? Yes. After we came here to destroy your station? Yes. This is a trick. Jake took a deep breath. Admiral, in about 30 seconds, your engineering teams are going to detect someone in your computer systems. That someone is Veltar. He's wearing a suit that lets him see your ship systems in ways your people can't. He's trying to save your reactor from exploding. Exactly 30 seconds later, alarm sounds came through the communication link. A Zenithai officer ran up to Admiral Kexalon and whispered urgently in his ear. Kexalon's face went pale. The